Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Wind Band and Beyond podcast. This show is created for our wind instrumental music education majors at Ithaca College, but guest listeners are always welcome. So our first guest is Brian Franco, a band director and music teacher in the Skaneateles School District. And Brian Franco has a YouTube page called Band at Home, where he has several playlists, including one dedicated to audio and video tutorials, such as this one for creating a clone video using masking, featuring the Mario Me Channel theme song.
3 steps necessary to complete this project, including recording multi-track audio, shooting each part, and editing the audio and film takes together.
He also has links to YouTube videos with interactive sheet music he's created with Noteflight. As well as cover songs for video games and popular music. Brian and his wife Amanda are also the founders of Your Score, which is a publishing company that provides downloadable, customizable music for instrumental groups. And users can click on the band arrangements and download files that work with any notation software. They can also be imported into Smart Music and Practice First for assessment. And they're customizable, so teachers can rearrange the parts directly from the file. Brian joins us today to talk about how he responded to challenges presented by the COVID-19 pandemic and offers some solutions for creating band music in online and remote environments. Brian, thank you so much for joining us today. Can you start out by telling us a little bit about yourself?
So I teach in Skaneateles, which is just about an hour north of Ithaca, and I've been the high school band director there. This is my 3rd year, but I also teach music technology and production technology.
And how has your approach to teaching the high school band changed since COVID?
Have some ideas as to how we might be able to present performances to the community remotely, because, there's been news out now saying, don't expect to go to a live concert until 2021. So to me, my top priority was, what can I do to deliver a high quality performance to a family without bringing them into the school? And I think that for educators, we were just like you. We grew up in a program where you practiced for 3 months and you put on a concert in your auditorium and you dressed up, you played 3 songs and you went home. I think that that's changing right now. And I think that it's kind of a good thing in a lot of ways. I'm not saying that I think we should get rid of concerts, but the idea that we can deliver performances in other ways is something that this has forced us to have a real reckoning with how we look at our jobs. So I kind of, in the spring, and Matt, if you want to link to a video for an example of this, that's fine, or I can send something. But I would start by saying, okay, I want the kids playing some music that they enjoy. So I asked for some recommendations of what's some music that you might want to learn. And so I ended up recording a version of that song, connecting it to sheet music in Noteflight that students could essentially play along with. And then that was how they did playing assignments for me in the spring. So, they said, I'd love to play the Avengers theme. And so I recorded the Avengers. I linked it to sheet music in Noteflight, which is something that you can do, which is actually pretty awesome. So that if they push play in Noteflight, the accompaniment that I made goes along with it. But then I also did video editing, and I would try to find a way to make a unique video that went with each of these, so that, again, once we hit the fall, I had experience with how to do that. And I learned a lot. And that's something that I hope that you guys all kind of got out of this COVID experiences. There's lots of ways to learn things besides just being in the classroom and being taught how to do it.
Well, Brian, I do have that Avengers clip ready. Could you maybe set up what we're about to see here?
my wife and I essentially recorded all the parts to the Avengers soundtrack, and then we turned that into an accompaniment that students could submit them playing the melody on top of it.
All right, let's take a look. Wow, that was amazing. Now, in 90 seconds or less, can you explain how you synchronized the interactive notation in NoteFlight with that background accompaniment?
So if you make a score in NoteFlight and then you make a corresponding recording, or you just have a recording from YouTube, say you make a lead sheet based on a recording that already exists. You go to Score, Sync Audio, and then essentially what happens is you push play, and then for every measure, you hit the M key. And so that essentially lines up the sheet music with the audio that's provided by YouTube. So I've already done this, as you can see. Basically, over the course of the piece, I've indicated where each downbeat is for each of the measures. So if I were to push play, again, what you'll find is that the music will go along with the film. There's measure 2. So you see that that follows right along with what's happening in NoteFlight.
Is there any advice that you have for these junior music education students who are about to embark on remote instruction, teaching virtual band lessons this fall? Is there any tips and tricks that you might have for them?
I think that for me, this whole experience, while it's an awful thing that we've all had to endure, I think that in a way, in the education field, it's given us license to try things that might fail. Something that I felt when I first was developing this idea for the band approach that we're going to create is I thought, oh, this is taking a risk. This is kind of sticking our necks out. If we tried to do band as normal, or we tried to do a version of band that, it's like we're going to put the kids 12 feet apart and it fails, we can say, well, what else could we have done? I think that a lot of what we should be doing right now is saying, okay, let's not try to just do band, but on a screen. How can we make this an experience that we're kind of almost building a bit from the ground up and trying something totally different? So don't think about, I need to do band, I'll put the kids in, we'll do like a Zoom rehearsal or something. But if you were in, 7th grade and you had a situation where you were Zooming with your teacher, what do you hope that would look like? I think that we often think about it from the top-down perspective of we're teachers delivering content to these students. Try to think about it more from the perspective of the student. what would you want it to look like? What would you try? What would you want to learn if you were in a situation where maybe you were remote and you were still playing your alto saxophone? Try to find something that's engaging and rewarding for them that way, not just saying, well, we're going to play band music, or we're going to, you're going to play your alto sax part for this Brian Balmage's piece, but rather do something new, do something that's maybe a little bit, I don't want to say risky. That's not a word I would use with this, but something that you have the license to try something. You have the license to be creative. And I think that you should use that because, there's a lot of things that I felt in the band world were always kind of a little bit antiquated. And I think a lot of band teachers spent the summer saying, we really got to rethink this if we want to continue being successful. So that would be my advice. I know that you learned a certain way, but see how you might be able to approach it at a different angle that makes it a little bit more rewarding for your students.
Thank you. That's incredible. Brian, every time I talk to you, you teach me something that significantly changes the way I think about music education. So first it was your music industry, a weird sport. Then it was, all of your video editing and it's clone videos. And now, this way that you've engaged students online. And also now it sounds like combining emerging and traditional ensembles together. That's the next thing that I need to pick your brain about. So thank you for being so generous with your expertise and your thoughts, and for just really leading the charge here in remote music education and beyond. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you for having me.
Sure.
And,
awesome.
Good luck to your students this semester. I can't even imagine what it's like to be them right now. I can't imagine being 2021 and being like, and now you have to rethink everything. But this is only going to make them, more resilient music teachers when they're going out into the field.
Absolutely. Yes, they'll be prepared for anything.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks a lot, Brian.
Yep. Thanks for having me.
Bye.